Hey everyone, welcome back to Coffee with Craner. Today I have Troy Schirk on the show. It's his first podcast, I believe. So
yeah.
Happy to have you on.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Troy is the Chief Information Officer at Atlas Holdings LLC. We'll have him share, what the company's about in just a second. But he's from the Windsor Essex area. Grew up in River Canard.
Yes, Amherstburg, yeah.
And he frequently travels back and visits family, but is based out in the States now.
Yeah, office Connecticut, live in Florida.
Awesome. So for those that don't know what Atlas Holdings LLC is, can you share more about that?
Sure. Generally, we're a private equity company where we take private money, take that money, invest it into different companies which we hold, generally in the large industrial sector.
And how did this opportunity start for you?
About 20 years ago, working on a consulting job, I had a sort of an IT task that I had to do with a consulting gig. It went very well, and then it turned into this opportunity.
So your background's IT?
Yes, background is IT. I've had a computer in my hand since 1983, long time ago, and I always been heavy into computers.
And prior to Atlas, you were IT director at a few different companies.
I started out my career as a Java programmer, where I was just in the programming field. And then from there, went into more IT administration, where I became an IT director. From there, some senior consulting, which led to the Atlas position. I've been with Atlas for about 20 years.
Did you study in the Windsor Essex area?
Yes, I have a Bachelor of Computer Science from the University of Windsor. Very local, all around.
And what made you think of heading stateside?
It was very strategic. I took an NAFTA course in school, and it taught me a bit about the free trade agreements under the TN, and I decided after I graduated I'd work in either Mexico or the U.S.
Okay. What was that process like? I know it can be difficult now to,
Yeah, back then, as long as you had a technical degree that fell under the NAFTA agreement, there were a few checkpoints you needed on your employment agreement. You could work for 1 year, and that was pretty straightforward. Mm-hmm. I think now it's a little more difficult, but from there, I enjoyed working in the U.S. and decided to go for a green card and then a citizenship. So I'm dual citizen right now.
Wow, very cool. What has it been like working in the IT space?
It's
now private equity, right?
Yes, but it's generally IT, and generally I'm upgrading a lot of companies, IT and technology and their go-to-market strategies with their digital assets now. So I would say it's sort of, you're always in school. Every year there's something new. You went from 2000s, the internet, to now that you're getting into AI, cloud computing, cybersecurity. So constant learning curve.
So the companies that you're working with are obviously changing as technology grows, and I imagine a lot of that information is confidential. But I guess, what are the types of companies that you're working with?
A lot of heavy industrial sectors, so automotive, which folks around here would know. We have a lot of pulp and paper, which we own a lot of companies in Canada that do that. We have some food and beverage companies in sort of the nuts area. In the U.S., where graduation's a lot more glamorous, and not necessarily glamorous, but more coats and rings and things. We have a company that does that. We have various companies.
And now your job as Chief Information Officer, what does that entail specifically?
Generally, all our companies try to oversee a cyber program to make sure everyone's up to a sort of a baseline. When we buy companies, a lot of times we'll buy a thing where we don't get the whole company. We'll just get our business unit where none of the IT comes, because it's coming from the main company or the corporate headquarters. And with that, we'll pull the company away, stand up new IT, new financial, new manufacturing systems, HR systems. And while you're doing that, you're trying to, if I'm going to put all this effort forward, how do I drive value with doing that? And that's where you're sort of upgrading the technology. Or you can look at a company and say, if I apply this new technology, I'll get some great value at the end. But that's generally what you're trying to measure for.
And you have a team that's obviously working for you as well?
There's a couple folks. There's a gentleman out of Chicago and a lady out of Spain. And underneath them, we have several consulting companies that work for us as we go to analyze, execute, or deploy technology.
What would you say is the biggest challenge in your job? I know you travel a lot.
Yes, traveling is, but you get used to travel. You
Yeah.
figure out how to be more effective in how you travel, how you pack. You get your 2 favorite shirts, and that's all you bring with you.
Yeah.
But generally with technology, the biggest challenge are humans. Because you can learn and upgrade yourself, but now you have a whole company that you have to bring to the technology, which, consider a knowledge transfer. So how do you educate them? How do you make sure they have buy-in? How do you make sure they're going to drive the technology? Because the technology is just a technology. A human must run that technology. And that's kind of the component that gets forgotten a lot.
And it's constantly changing.
You're educating folks. You're trying to educate a whole business or company.
Now, for somebody that's looking to enter, let's just start with the private equity space. In any role, we'll not focus on the IT right now, but how does somebody enter this industry as an employee? We'll start there.
Generally, the folks that are private equity analysts that we have are coming from a strong investment banking background, heavy mathematics, heavy financial modeling. So good with math, good with finance, and probably starting out with an investment bank and then moving on to private equity.
And now going into the information technology space, how would one, I guess, what are the types of people that they're looking for?
In private equity or in general?
In general, like your stream of
I would say if I'm starting out now, excuse me, and I'm trying to get into the technology space, I would look for, finance or fintech technologies. Look for cyber is going to be big, AI, and probably data centers, data warehousing, things of that nature.
Okay.
Coming up big is cyber is going to continue to grow. You're going to have a newer technology that's just breaching the market called quantum computing, which is going to increase cyber need because you can now crack a password with half or a quarter of the time, which is interesting. Then you're going to have AI on top of that, so that's good. So, and then generally at the end of the day, it has to be a computer or it has to be a good business. You're going to need some financial tech or fintech.
So you said quantum
computing.
Okay, what is that?
A more mathematically efficient computing.
Okay, and you're seeing a lot of.
It's coming up. It's going to take down with AI, you're going to need that. Because right now, if you ask AI a question, in the background, you're driving heavy data centers, electricity just for a simple question. So you need to get more efficient. And that's where quantum computing is going to come into play.
Very cool. Of all the companies you've dealt with, is there anyone that has a type of technology that's been fascinating to you?
Generally, we have a seeding arm that has more tech-based companies or up front. Those are kind of interesting to me in that space where we've got specialty injection molding companies. We have a 3D metal printing company, which is very interesting. But generally, I take a broader approach on the tech space since we're heavy industrial. I'm not trying to get too forward, but bring them up to speed versus to have them bleeding edge. But I think right now, it would be AI. It's the biggest thing, coolest thing out right now.
It's tough to catch up to it because it's changing every day.
Right, but you have to. You have to. Because every day you don't catch up, you're that far behind.
Yes, absolutely. Growing up, was there anyone that was a big mentor to you and maybe helped shape your?
No, I think generally my career was based on sort of experience from we didn't even mention, but before that DJing, now getting into the corporate world, merging everything together. Generally a people person from the DJing, so pulling that with IT got me on the business side of IT, and then that helps me solve a lot of problems because generally most problems are people problems, and you have to figure out how to work with people efficiently and effectively to have any problem solved.
And how do you do that in your role? Efficiency is everything from just knowing you a little bit. How do you deal with your people?
Well, people are people, so they're groups, but they're individuals. So you have to understand cultures at a group level, individually, empathetically, how a person is, what will make them work, what will make them motivated, why are they being blocked and not doing something. So it's a bigger task than you think it is, but something that you can't push aside, where a lot of people like to put process and responsibility in place and forget about the people side.
Well, how would you describe your leadership approach within Atlas Holdings?
Try to lead by example. Try to lead by example. more goal oriented than being someone that's more like
Micromanaging.
Yes.
Okay.
Because right now everybody's working and personal time is intermingled.
Yeah.
And you try to do the 9 to 5, 5 to 9, and it bleeds over either way. It's not fair personally or for the work. So how do you get somebody goal oriented? And then if the goal fails, it's easier to say this didn't happen. Why didn't it happen? If you're micromanaging, you get lost in the overall strategy.
And I imagine with the time zone, you said Connecticut and Spain.
Connecticut, well, yeah, I mean, our company is around the globe.
Yeah.
We employ about 60,000 people around the world, plants everywhere. So
Wow.
yeah, it's a give and take. Sometimes you're working after hours. Sometimes you're playing golf during hours. I'm sure you know about that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Best part of the job, what would you say?
Believe it or not, it's challenging. It's the people side. I get to travel the world, meet various people, various cultures, places I never thought I'd like that you really enjoy, and that's a and everywhere, people are the thing that make the world work, and it's a great thing.
I always see you're traveling for work. Where's been your favorite spot?
I wouldn't say favorite, but surprising. Like
okay.
Places I was in Krakow, Poland, which I fully enjoyed, which it wasn't even on my radar. We went there for work, and by the end of the week, I stayed an extra few days, and you're like, this was a great experience.
Mm-hmm.
Asia's another one. It's complete, it's sort of blocked off a bit culturally from what they do to what we do at a day-to-day level. So going there and experiencing that, anything that's new to me and a new experience is something I fully enjoy.
You got one of those maps where you put the marker on all the places you've been?
I've been most places. It's easier to put a marker where I haven't been.
Okay. How many countries would you say you've been to?
Well, when I had to go through some border to get my Nexus and my green card and whatnot, they actually had to I fly Delta Airlines a lot, run my whole travel itinerary, and it was something like 60, 70 different countries I'd been to and whatnot. But since then, that was about 5-6 years ago, a lot more have happened.
Yes, yeah. You're on the road quite often?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Would you say you're...
Once a week, generally, on the road.
Really? Okay. No, that's super cool. For young people that you're seeing, you're watching grow, even within your own company, the 60,000 people that you guys employ, anything that you're seeing that's really helping them climb that leadership ladder like you did?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is go out there, experience, travel. A lot of we're from the time you graduate high school, mm-hmm. even university, college, you're confined into generally one space in a certain same group of people, and what you're missing out is that variant of life, and that's what you have to react to. Mm-hmm. If I try to hire someone and they haven't traveled, they haven't been around, as I mentioned, it's people that are the issue. So if you haven't experienced people, how are you going to solve problems with people? And that leads on to leadership, because once you understand people, you can help lead people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well said. Must have been a big jump for you to pack up and head to the States.
It was at first.
Yeah.
I think the first time you walk into a restaurant and you say a table for one, that's one of the hardest things you'll go through in life. Because naturally we've never done that. But that again is where I speak to the experience side of things. Like the more that you can get into a situation you don't understand and then just be comfortable on the outset of it, because mm-hmm. that's when you've learned and accomplished something.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Would you ever come back to the Canadian side of things, or is it?
Well, I'm on both sides. Yeah. I still have a house in Amherstburg, and I'm here in the summer, and you'll have to buy me a dinner at some point.
Yeah,
so don't worry, you'll find out.
And we didn't even ask about favorite place for coffee. I know the answer, but I want.
All right, we'll go. All right, yes, River Canard Canoe Shop.
Okay,
it's very simple, and that's why I love Canada.
Yeah. You love that place, eh?
Oh, every morning there for a coffee if you need to find me. Yeah. Or you need to go canoeing or paddleboarding.
I could picture you on the canoe in the morning.
Yeah, paddleboarding not so much.
No.
The hockey balance is gone.
Yeah. So you're into DJing outside of work. What do you like to get up to?
Yeah, I mean, probably twice a year I'll DJ now. It used to be the whole college, how I'd pay for college thing.
Really?
Okay. Oh yeah. So
that was your first.
That was my first career. Absolutely. And that taught me a lot about people.
Yeah.
You had to entertain 600 people. They had no idea who they are. So.
And make them enjoy the experience,
exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And then after DJing, what was your I guess your first job outside of.
I was a software programmer in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I was still DJing at the time, so doing kind of 9 to 5, and then on weekends, the late nights. But the candle at both ends, burns very quick.
Yeah. And DJ obviously went to the side and full throttle in IT.
Exactly, except for the parties that we have, but yes.
Very, very cool. What's next for you? Anything exciting that you can share with?
Sure, I'll be turning the big 5-0 and having a big party in 2 weekends from now. So that's probably the biggest event on the radar. Other than that, enjoying life and people.
Okay. What about with Atlas Holdings? Like, is there any personal things that you want to achieve that you can?
We're constantly growing. We just raised about $6.5 billion, which will mean a lot of investment in larger companies, more global, more technologies. So that'll take me in a new perspective. What it is, I don't know. I'm open to it, but not trying to figure out what it is, but react to when it comes.
And when you say you raise, just for those that might not be aware, how does that process work?
It's kind of
in private equity.
It's a sell, and you're going out to folks that want to invest money. People will set up various meetings, and you're going to say, we're going to hold some of your money, and we're going to make some money with that. We're going to return your money and then make some money with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very simplistic view, but generally how it works.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the, I guess, dumbing it down a little bit for the average guy like me, right? But
I think you're above average.
No, that's really cool. And one question I wanted to ask before we drop off here was the average day in the life of Troy Schirk.
I don't know if there is an average day. And Troy being average would not be. I don't know if there's such a thing.
Yeah.
But generally you're on a lot of Zoom calls, but you're handling issues. So at any time, there could be a deal happening in China and the next day you're off to China, or, there could be a massive cyber event that you have to handle, or you have to parachute somewhere. There's always, so you're handling your general day-to-day, your Zooms, getting deals done, and then there's always the outliers that are not so outlier anymore.
Yeah, where you could get a call and you got to pack up and leave.
And that's, exactly.
Oh, yeah, you got to be extremely flexible for that.
Absolutely.
No, that's very cool. Where can people reach you if they're looking to maybe learn more about your program?
LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Reach out to me.
Sweet.
Mention you heard me on this show. Canoe Shop.
The Canoe Shop.
The Canoe Shop. There we go.
Yes, and they're not a sponsor, so this is free advertising for the Canoe Shop.
Right. And we're gonna go for coffee. Excellent.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Troy.
Checking my mug for Super Mortgage advertisement. Okay.
Exactly. So thank you very much, Troy. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
And all the very exciting things that you do in your role, and it's fascinating to see somebody that was in Amherstburg and doing big things across the globe.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, if you want to rewatch the episode, visit coffeewithcraner.com. Thanks so much for being here.